The coffee was still warm when I found the note. It was sitting next to her favorite mug, the ugly yellow one with the chipped handle she never let me touch. She always said it was a comfort thing, like drinking out of it gave her superpowers or something. But there it was, half full, steam fading, and beside it a crooked square of stationery I didn't even know we owned. 1 week. I just need 1 week. I love you. Don't make this harder. No signature. No kiss mark. Just that. The silence in the apartment was unbearable. Even the fridge sounded guilty. I looked around like I'd missed something. A camera crew, maybe. Some signal that this was a prank or a test or a bad dream I could still jolt out of. It wasn't. She was gone. And the thing is, I didn't call. I didn't chase her car down the street or sob into the couch cushions like some broken sitcom husband. No, I just stared at that note, that pathetic little note, and I laughed. A short, sharp, bitter kind of laugh that made the cat jump off the windowsill. 1 week apart. That wasn't a solution. It was an exit strategy disguised as therapy. I walked into the bedroom, our bedroom, and sat on the bed like I was visiting someone else's life. Her perfume still haunted the pillows. Her hoodie was still draped over the chair like a ghost who hadn't moved on. But I had. Faster than I ever thought possible. That night, I pulled up our phone records. I wasn't looking to snoop. I was looking to confirm the thing I already knew deep down. The thing that had been gnawing at me every time she smiled at her phone or laughed a little too softly in the bathroom with the door cracked. There he was. Cameron. The name meant nothing to me. The number, though? Logged more than 40 calls over the past month. All around midnight. All lasting between 6 and 22 minutes. She thought I'd never check. That I was too trusting. Too safe. She used to joke that I was predictable, like a Monday morning. Not anymore. By sunrise, I had her bank activity in front of me. She used the joint card, our card, to pay for a reservation at a wellness cabin in upstate New York. 2 guests. 1 queen bed. Spa services. A couples package. Couples. I didn't scream. I didn't punch the wall or throw her framed picture across the room like in movies. I just sat down at the kitchen table, next to the coffee mug that was now cold, and started typing. Not to her. Not to him. To someone else. Someone she had no idea existed. But he knew her name. And he owed me a favor. Cameron. I didn't know his last name yet, but I didn't need it. I had his number, a rough idea of his location based on the spa booking, and most importantly, I had Oliver. Oliver wasn't a friend. He was more like a scar I never got rid of. We'd met years ago through a client I had in my freelance IT days. Oliver was the guy they warned you about. Quiet, polite, weirdly brilliant, and the kind of man who could find out your blood type just from a pizza receipt and an old email thread. We worked on a data breach together back in 2019, and though I hated everything about the project, Oliver and I stayed in touch. Barely. Occasionally. But enough. So I sent him a message. Need a name. Just a name. NYC number ending in 0812. Quiet favor. No explanation. No dramatics. I closed the laptop and went to wash the mug. I didn't want to see it anymore, but something stopped me. I poured the rest of the cold coffee out, held the mug in both hands, and just stared. I don't know what I was hoping for. That it would start talking, maybe tell me why she decided I wasn't enough anymore. The first time I caught her pulling away was last winter, during the ice storm. Our power went out, and I remember thinking it was finally a chance to reconnect. No screens. No distractions. Just us. But she spent the entire evening reading some novel by candlelight, while I sat across from her in silence, feeling like a stranger in my own home. I asked her what the book was about, and she said, "A woman who wakes up and realizes she married the wrong life." Then she looked up at me and smiled, like she'd just said something cute. Maybe she had already picked Cameron then. Maybe she was just waiting for the right weather to disappear into. Later that night, Oliver texted back. Cameron Durant. Works at a mid-tier ad firm in Midtown. Divorced last year. No kids. Clean socials. Drives a leased Mercedes and thinks crypto is a personality. You sure this is who she picked? Yes. Of course, she picked him. Jory had a type, and apparently that type was midlife crisis with cologne and a gym selfie. Still, I thanked Oliver and asked for one more thing, his schedule. Where he went, where he ate, anything public or easy to find. His reply was chilling. You're not going to do anything stupid, are you? I didn't answer. Because the truth was, I didn't know. The next day, I took down every photo of us in the apartment. I didn't burn them, didn't shred them, didn't rage through the living room like a lunatic. I just put them in a box, taped it shut, and labeled it before. I took her coat off the hanger, folded her cardigan, cleared her side of the bathroom sink. I didn't do it out of anger. I did it because I wanted her to come back to nothing. She wanted space. She'd walk into air. But it was when I unplugged her charging cable from the bedroom socket that I noticed something. The drawer of her nightstand was cracked open. Not enough to notice unless you were doing something mundane, like unplugging a phone charger. Inside was a receipt. One single crumpled receipt. From 2 days before she left. A jewelry boutique in Brooklyn. One purchase. One item. No amount listed, just the handwritten phrase on the top. Custom engraving complete. Still yours. Still yours. That's when I felt the room spin. She hadn't just planned to disappear. She had planned to return with a gift. A twisted, sentimental token. Maybe a necklace. A keychain. Something shiny to distract me from what she'd done. She was going to come back to me, glowing from another man's hands, and hand me a souvenir of her growth. She didn't realize the man she was returning to wasn't the same one she left. I sat on the edge of the bed with that receipt in my hand for almost an hour, staring at those 2 words like they were written in blood. Still yours. How poetic. How manipulative. The idea that she'd vanish into the arms of another man for a week and then come back with a shiny little token, like a cheating politician returning with cupcakes and a smile. It made me sick. That's when I decided something. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to confront her. I wasn't going to make a scene. No, I was going to do what she never expected me to do. Disappear first. Not physically. Not yet. But mentally. Emotionally. Strategically. I was going to turn our home, our life, into a stranger's house. By the time she returned, it would be as if I'd never been there. And she would be the intruder. I started by opening the closet. I didn't pack my things. That would be obvious. Instead, I rearranged them. Shirts she used to borrow? Gone. Slippers she always stole from my side of the bed? Trashed. I swapped out my scent in the bathroom cabinet. Replaced the cologne she said made me smell like an accountant with something sharper. Harsher. Something unfamiliar. I scrubbed every photo off the fridge, cleared my playlist from the speaker, even changed the lock screen on the iPad from a beach selfie of us in Montauk to a black screen with one word in bold white font, empty. I didn't stop there. I opened a new checking account. Quietly. Moved my half of the funds, the ones she never touched, and set up a withdrawal freeze on the joint card. I logged into the Nest cam she forgot was still running in the bedroom and scheduled it to upload everything to a hidden folder only I could access. If she brought him here, if she was stupid enough to turn our home into a hotel, I'd know. I wasn't hoping. I wasn't praying. I was preparing. And then I went deeper. See, Jory and I had shared everything. Passwords, cloud storage, even a shared grocery list app. She never changed her settings because she didn't believe I'd ever look. But I did. I found her notes app backup. Buried beneath recipe drafts and half-written poetry was a locked note. Simple title, Exit Strategy. I didn't guess the password. I knew it. Our wedding date. The note was a bullet point plan. A literal plan. Pitch the solo trip as a reset. Frame it gently. Don't mention Cameron until after Vermont. If Wendell gets weird, pull the mental health card. He'll fold. Return with necklace. Gift it before mentioning anything. Keep him in good spirits until bonus posts in November. Decide post bonus. There it was. Cold. Calculated. I wasn't her husband. I was a holding pattern. She didn't love me. She loved the stability I gave her. The mortgage with my name on it. The insurance plan she got to keep under my employer. The emotional punching bag that never hit back. And this wasn't a spontaneous crisis of the heart. This was a playbook. I don't remember falling asleep that night. I just remember the dreams. I was in a house with no doors. Jory was outside, knocking. Cameron was laughing behind her. And I just stood there, staring at the wall, because I knew even if I opened it, she'd only bring in more cold. The next morning, I woke up to silence. But it wasn't the usual, still, early morning kind. This silence felt like something had already ended. Then my phone buzzed. Jory, hey. Everything okay? You've been quiet. Jory, just wanted to say I love you. I know this is weird. Jory, you're not mad, right? Just need to clear my head. You get that? I didn't respond. Instead, I opened her message. I highlighted the text. and I deleted it. I didn't block her. That would give her drama. Give her something to react to. No, I let her sit in it. Let her wonder. Because in just 6 days, she'd come home to a stranger. And I'd be standing in the ruins, not broken, just gone. The third day was when the cracks started to show. I hadn't replied to her texts. Not one. I saw the read receipts piling up, saw the subtle shift in her tone, from soft concern to slight panic. That's the thing about people like Jory. They don't fear abandonment. They fear irrelevance. They think silence is a mistake, a glitch in the simulation. And when the person who always bent suddenly stands still, it breaks their rhythm. But I didn't stop at silence. No, that would have been too easy. I started playing. I logged into the grocery app we used to share and added a single item to the list, divorce lawyer. I waited 10 minutes and deleted it. I knew she had notifications turned on. Knew her phone would light up with that little reminder of reality. A glitch in her vacation bubble. 5 minutes later, she texted again. Was that supposed to be funny? I didn't answer. Instead, I called the building's management and asked about early lease termination. Not because I planned to move, not yet, but because I wanted the paperwork ready. I wanted her to see it lying on the coffee table when she walked in. Let her feel the weight of what she started. But it was that evening when everything shifted. I got a message from an unknown number. Just 3 words. Does she know? No name. No context. The number was a New York area code. My heart slammed against my ribs. For a split second, I thought it might be him. Cameron. But why would he reach out? Unless he was trying to bait me. Or worse, cover something up. I didn't reply. Instead, I searched the number online. Nothing came up. No LinkedIn. No Facebook. No trace. Just a blank shell. So I sent the number to Oliver. He replied 15 minutes later. Registered to a burner. Purchased 2 weeks ago. Paid in cash in Queens. Likely prepaid. No ID. That's when the temperature in the apartment dropped. Why would someone go to those lengths? Why would anyone outside of this situation care enough to contact me like that? Unless someone else had something to lose. It hit me all at once. Jory's game wasn't just emotional. It was financial. I dug into our joint savings account. And that's when I found the transfer. $6,200 withdrawn 3 days before she left. Disguised as a retreat deposit. But the payment was rerouted to a digital wallet. Not a spa. Not a wellness center. A wallet. Tracked through a crypto bridge. And then gone. And just like that, my blood ran cold. She wasn't just cheating. She was laundering her exit. It wasn't about love, or space, or finding herself. It was about setting herself up, without me. Jory was planning not to return to this life, but to reappear somewhere else, shiny and rebranded, leaving me behind as a cautionary tale. A quiet footnote in the saga of her rebirth. But there was one thing she didn't know. That burner number? It didn't come from him. It came from her sister. I hadn't spoken to Aubrey in almost a year. Jory's younger sister. The one who always seemed a little too observant, a little too quiet. While Jory took center stage at every family gathering, Aubrey sat with her hands in her lap, sipping wine and watching everything. She never laughed too loud, never spoke out of turn. But I remember the look in her eyes the night of our anniversary dinner. A tight, unreadable stare as Jory toasted to us surviving another year. That was 2 months ago, and now she was texting me from a burner phone. I called her. She answered on the second ring with a whisper. I wasn't sure if you'd pick up. I asked her why she contacted me that way, why the secrecy, and she paused. Then she said something that made me physically lean back in my chair, like the air had just been pulled out of the room. She's not in Vermont. At first I thought I misheard. She booked the cabin. Aubrey continued, but she's not there. She never checked in. I called the place pretending to be her assistant. They said it's been empty since Sunday. I stood up, the floor shifting under me. She told you Vermont, Aubrey said, but she's with him. In Rhode Island. At some glass Airbnb by the coast. I've seen the photos on his private story. I gripped the edge of the table, trying to anchor myself. Why are you telling me this? Another pause. Because I thought she was better than this, she said, voice cracking. Because I've seen what she's doing to you. And because she told our parents you were unstable. That last word hit harder than anything else so far. Unstable. Like I was the one unraveling. Like I was the villain in her little redemption arc. I pictured her sipping wine with Cameron, wrapped in some linen robe, painting me as the insecure husband back home who pushed her away. The tragic artist. The poor woman with the emotionally unavailable man. A carefully constructed lie, polished for public sympathy. I thanked Aubrey genuinely. I asked her if she was safe, and she said she was fine, just tired of watching people hurt each other and pretend it's growth. I ended the call, sat down, and stared at the wall for a long time. Not thinking, just absorbing. The woman I built my world around had weaponized my silence. She took my loyalty and repackaged it as fragility. She painted her getaway as healing, while gutting me in private and dressing the wound with motivational quotes on Instagram. But something else had shifted now. A new piece had entered the board. Aubrey didn't just give me information. She gave me leverage. I now had proof she wasn't where she said she'd be. That she'd lied, not just emotionally, but legally. Our marriage documents, her alibi, the insurance policies, all compromised by that lie, all affected by what she told me, and the records that would show she wasn't where she claimed. Which meant if I played this right, I could trigger everything. My lawyer, her job, her social standing, all of it, shaken, quietly, cleanly. But first, I needed to know one more thing. I texted Oliver. Can you get into his phone? His reply was a single sentence. Send me a photo of his face. And just like that, I knew exactly where I was going tomorrow. It was around 5:30 a.m. when I left the apartment. I didn't even shower. Just threw on a hoodie, jeans, and boots, packed a thermos of coffee, and slid my old DSLR camera into the back seat. I hadn't touched it in years. Used to take photos of jewelry when we traveled, back when we thought building a shared album meant we were building a shared life. Now it was going to serve a very different purpose. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Didn't need to. I had Aubrey's tip, the location of the Airbnb in Rhode Island, and more importantly, a screenshot she'd quietly taken from Cameron's close friend's story. The smug bastard had posted a blurry nighttime photo of wine glasses and waves, captioned, "Healing time with someone who actually gets it." What a line. I hoped he choked on it. I drove the entire way in silence. No music, no podcast, just the sound of the road and my own breathing. Somewhere along the drive I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even hurt. I was something worse still, calm in a way that didn't feel human. Like something had been drained out of me and replaced with frost. By the time I pulled up near the property, the sky was a bruised gray and the sea air hit like salt on a wound. The Airbnb sat on a quiet, private lane, too modern for the rustic charm of the area, with oversized windows and a pretentious glass balcony that screamed we're not hiding. Perfect. I parked half a block down, behind a line of trees, and waited. At 7:12 a.m., the front door opened. He stepped out, taller than I expected, athletic in a try-hard way. The kind of guy who clearly moisturized and wore his hair like it took zero effort, when it absolutely took 25 minutes and a round brush. He was shirtless, holding a French press, wearing sweatpants like he thought he invented them. And then she followed him out. Jory, wrapped in the robe I had given her last Christmas, the ivory one with the fleece lining she said made her feel safe. Now it hung loose around her body like she was draped in someone else's skin. She kissed his shoulder. He laughed. Click. One photo. Just one. That's all Oliver would need. I didn't move. Didn't blink. I just watched. They walked onto the balcony, sipping coffee, pointing at the ocean like it was some new discovery only they were allowed to enjoy. Jory tossed her head back in laughter. That hurt more than I expected. Not because she was happy. I'd made peace with that, but because it looked real. Like I never existed. Like our marriage had been a draft version of whatever this was. But then, something happened. She checked her phone, paused. Her face shifted, and I knew. She saw the message I had sent 5 minutes earlier, scheduled to deliver from a dummy account at exactly that moment. Just 3 words. Nice view, huh? Her smile collapsed. She looked around, scanned the trees, the street. Her body stiffened. She said something to Cameron, something quick, clipped. He stepped back inside. She lingered, then walked to the edge of the balcony and looked out like she could feel me watching her. And for once, she didn't look like the confident, curated version of herself. She looked terrified. I took one more photo. Her alone, staring into the fog. And then I left. On the way back, Oliver messaged me. Got what I needed. Give me 24 hours. I replied with a single word. Burn it. I got home just after 11 p.m., parked in the usual spot, walked up the stairs like it was any other Tuesday, but it wasn't. The apartment didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt like a carefully arranged stage, each detail positioned with quiet violence. Her shoes were gone. Her books, boxed. The fridge was half empty. I left just enough to make it look like a life had recently existed here. Ghost evidence. Psychological graffiti. I didn't go to bed that night. I sat on the couch, fully dressed, staring out the window. Not waiting, preparing. I knew what came next. She had to come home. She had no other choice. The lie was collapsing faster than she could patch it, and I was going to let her step back into the burning house she built. By noon the next day, I got the first hit. Oliver sent a link to an encrypted folder. Inside it were copies of messages from Cameron's cloud backup. Yes, his. Not hers. Oliver didn't even have to break anything. Cameron had used an old app that stored data without a second layer of encryption. There they were. Every text, every voice memo, every smug little plan they whispered into each other's phones. All of it downloaded. All of it time-stamped. One stuck out, sent 2 days before she left. Cameron, he won't fight it. You said he shuts down under pressure, right? He'll just accept it. Guys like that always do. By the time he notices, it'll be done. Another. Jory. If I play it right, he'll thank me for being honest. Might even apologize. He's sweet when he feels guilty. That one hurt. Not because it was cruel. I'd already accepted that. But because it was true. I was that guy. The one who gave benefit after benefit of the doubt. Who apologized for making someone else uncomfortable, even when they were stabbing him mid-sentence. No more. I uploaded the entire archive to a secure drive and labeled it simply. Just in case. I wasn't sure if I'd need it. But I wanted her to know I had it. I wanted her to feel the weight of that possibility like a shadow trailing behind her every smile from now on. At 3:17 p.m., I heard the door. Her keys. She didn't knock. I stayed seated on the couch, back to the door, lights off. I didn't want to see her. I wanted her to feel me before she saw me. She stepped inside, cautiously. Wendell. No answer. A pause. When can we talk? I still didn't move. I let the silence breathe. Let her feel the shape of what she'd broken. I just needed time to think. I know I handled it wrong, but I needed space to reset. I thought you'd understand. That's when I stood. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just stood and turned toward her. Her face looked smaller than I remembered. Hair tied back. No makeup, hoodie too large. She looked human. Finally. Not the curated version of herself she performed for strangers, but a woman who had run out of script. What do you want me to say? I asked. I don't want to fight, she whispered. I just want to explain. I nodded slowly. Then I walked over to the coffee table, picked up a padded envelope, and held it out to her. She hesitated, then took it, opened it. Inside was a printed screenshot of her message with Cameron, the one about me not fighting, about being sweet when I felt guilty. Underneath it was a USB drive. What is this? Proof, I said quietly, of who you really are. Her eyes filled, but not with guilt. With fear. Wendell, I held up my hand. Calm. Steady. You're not going to explain. You're going to leave. And when you do, you're going to wonder every day if I've used that folder. If I've sent it to your boss. Or your parents. Or your clients. And I won't. Not today. Not tomorrow. But you'll never know when. Why would you do this to me? She choked out. And there it was. Her first real question. I stepped forward, close enough for her to see how absolutely empty I was inside now. Because, I said, you didn't take a break. You took me for granted. And now I'm gone. She didn't say anything. Not after I told her I was gone. Not after she read the message, held the USB drive, and realized everything she built on lies was now balanced on a thread I could snap at any moment. She just stood there, frozen, like someone who'd finally seen the mirror without makeup, lights, or filters. For the first time in our marriage, she looked small. Not weak. Not pitiful. Just human. And that was enough. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't beg for answers or write some cinematic final speech. I didn't need closure from her. I realized, in that moment, that she couldn't give it to me anyway, because closure isn't a gift someone hands you. It's a door you walk through when you're ready. She stayed at the door for a while, unsure whether to sit down, scream, or run. I didn't invite her to do any of it. I went back to the couch, poured myself a glass of water, and let her exist in the awkward space she created. Then she asked, softly, brokenly, "Do you hate me?" I looked at her for a long moment, then shook my head. "No," I said, "but I don't trust you." and I don't think I ever will again. She nodded, quietly, like something inside her finally understood. I'll go, she said. I know. And she did. No slamming doors. No final goodbye. Just the sound of her footsteps fading down the hall. And then nothing. 3 weeks passed. I didn't see her again. Not in person. A few text attempts from unknown numbers. A vague apology email. All of which I ignored. I moved out of that apartment. I didn't run. I chose to leave. I sold the couch. Donated half the furniture. Took only what felt like me, not what reminded me of us. I got a smaller place. Closer to the park. No shared memories. No yellow coffee mugs. Just sunlight in the mornings and silence that didn't ache anymore. I started painting again. Nothing professional. Just canvases in the corner, old brushes, colors that weren't brown or beige or neutral. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't post it. It was mine. And that made it sacred. One day, walking back from the grocery store, I saw Aubrey. She smiled when she saw me. No awkwardness. No guilt. Just warmth. You look lighter, she said. And for the first time in a long time, I meant it when I replied. I am. Life didn't magically fix itself. But slowly, it started to feel like mine again. There was no dramatic rebound. No whirlwind romance. Just quiet mornings, new routines, a few laughs with people who didn't know who I used to be. I wasn't recovering. I was rebuilding. And I realized something important. She didn't break me. She freed me. I had spent so long holding on to someone who had already let go. And in the process of losing her, I found the one thing I never gave myself permission to have. Peace. Not loud. Not flashy. Just quiet. And finally enough.